Hello, I am Dr. Carmen Maldonado and welcome to Desde el Origen. My guest this week is Dr. Hector Franco, a cancer geneticist whose work seeks to uncover how our genes function and how they go wrong in cancer biology. Héctor was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and he first set out to study marine biology. I read a little bit about that, and inspired by his deep love to the ocean. And we, as an island, are surrounded by ocean.
That's right.
That makes total sense to me. But at the beginning of the century, in 2001, something changed in biology, which was the human genome. And that event, from the scientific standpoint, really caught your attention.
That's right. It transformed my career.
Exactly. And so it made you reconsider where your path might go as a scientist, right? So today we have you understanding a very important question about the genetics of cancer biology from a space that is very important for Puerto Rico, which is the UPR, or University of Puerto Rico Comprehensive Cancer Center, where right now you're focused on examining breast and ovarian cancer using single-cell techniques that give you much, well, its focus is very specifically on particular cells that could, and genes that could be, involved in ovarian and breast cancer.
That's right.
And so he happens also to be a very important member of our team at the Blueprint of Life, and which is something that is a space for interacting different views about the evolution of us as species, but also issues that impact our survival, like disease, in this case, cancer. And so by looking at all the genes and analysis of genetic expression, genetic interaction that impacts cancer, we want to really, during this podcast, have a conversation with you about the relevance of why should we study cancer biology from the genetic perspective, how you see yourself growing as a scientist, and also, of course, what made you, since the beginning, choose this path. So thank you for being here, Héctor, today. And we'll have just a couple of questions that will entice you to talk a little bit about what you've been doing and things that make you click as a scientist. So before we start talking about your research, let's go back to, well, like this core podcast says, Origen. So tell me a little bit about when you were growing up as a young man, and how it created you scenarios where you thought science was something that it would interest you.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. As you said, I was born and raised here in Puerto Rico, specifically in Caraño, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And as I think it's a similar story to many scientists, I was just really curious about the natural world around us. I spent a lot of time in the backyard or out front playing with my friends, picking up everything and every moving creature and trying to figure out how it worked. And also being on an island, we're naturally connected to the ocean.
Yes.
I think it was very fascinating growing up, spending a lot of time on the ocean, surfing, snorkeling, and thinking about these creatures that surround us, that live in the ocean, and how they work. And so my curiosity for nature and living things that were present in our everyday life, living here and growing up in Puerto Rico, was where I started gaining interest into this world of science and the world of biology.
I see. And so that interest started like elementary school, or are we talking about high school? Was there something that made you think, okay, science is what I'm going to do?
I think it was just a natural progression. I didn't I don't pinpoint a specific date when I was growing up where I was like, okay, I'm going to be a scientist. It was more like, well, when I was making a decision during my high school years about what I was going to do after high school and what I wanted to study, I knew that I wanted to learn about living things, about specifically at that time about the ocean and things that and animals
Marine biology
and that lived in the ocean and so I wanted to pursue that as an undergraduate biology student. I wanted to look at marine biology more specifically. Yeah.
And so once you finished high school, where did you go for college?
So it was interesting. So I always had the goal growing up in Puerto Rico that I wanted to go to college in the mainland U.S. I wanted to have that experience.
Yes.
And in my family, I'm one of 3 siblings. And I have an older brother who had a similar path to me, where he was a soccer player in high school and got a soccer scholarship to go to college in New Jersey. And I very much mimicked that as well. I spent a lot of time, in addition to thinking about the natural world around us, playing soccer here in Puerto Rico. And so my parents wanted me to go to the States, and they encouraged me, but we needed to find a way of paying for college. And so it was clear that athletics and academic scholarships would allow us to go to college in the States. And so my younger sister as well was also able to go to college in the States. And so the way I did it was through a soccer scholarship.
Okay.
And an academic scholarship together.
Wow. And so which institution did you choose?
So I went to Florida Institute of Technology, or Florida Tech.
Florida Tech.
And what was nice about Florida Tech is that, I was able to play on the college soccer team, but they also have a robust marine biology program.
Oh, is that right?
Florida Tech is located in Melbourne, Florida, which is on the east coast of Florida. They have a really great marine biology program, and so I thought, okay, this is perfect. It's not too far away from Puerto Rico.
Right.
They have a great marine biology program, and they actually wanted me to play on their soccer team, right? They offered me a scholarship, so I was like, all right, let's go for it.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I also like football a lot because I'm married to a Dutchman, so you can imagine football is part of their cultural,
it's
roots.
In their soup. Yeah.
Yes, and so I have followed a lot about different teams. We have the World Cup this summer.
Absolutely.
And is there a favorite team you follow?
Puerto Rico national soccer team is my favorite team.
Good answer. That is a good answer. Did you see Curaçao and Jamaica made it for the World Cup?
Yeah. So after that, then I cheer our Caribbean neighbors as well.
Of course.
And then so I go, my allegiances go from proximity to Puerto Rico. So first Puerto Rico, then the Caribbean, then South America, North America.
Okay.
And then I'll cheer for the European teams towards the end.
Yeah, well, I think this intersection between sports and science must have brought you a lot of common skills. Can we talk about how sports also developed you as a scientist?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of skills that I learned through soccer that I still rely on today as a scientist. Very prominent examples are time management. So as you can imagine, as a top soccer player in high school, I spent a lot of time traveling, practicing, but at the same time I had to do well enough in school to be able to be accepted into college. And so time management, discipline, and I think those things are still true today. And most importantly is perseverance. So going through the wins but also the losses, and learning how to deal with setbacks.
Of course, that is so important as well.
And setting achievable goals, but that are still ambitious enough to push you to be better. Those are all things that are true in sports, but also in science.
Definitely.
And so,
Yeah, I relate to the last quality you mentioned, because when we submit grants, right? And
That's right.
then sometimes we don't get funded, or our papers they have to get back to us because there's, you know, people that say, well, you need to fix this and that. You know, you have to deal with criticism, but also you try again and again and again.
That's right.
And so sports also gives you opportunity to improve yourself or get better if you want to win, right?
That's right.
So there's also a lot of competitiveness that applies to science, very much so.
I think competitiveness is just a natural trait of humans.
Yes.
But yes, absolutely. I think being an athlete, you have to have a sense of competitiveness, self-confidence, and being able to deal with criticism and all of these things, which are true for science today as well. Yeah.
Do you still play?
I don't play. I have a 7-year-old, soon to be 8-year-old son, who is my star and my favorite player.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm very much now a soccer dad.
Oh, that is
so
nice. Nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So so there was a transition from being an athlete to a scientist.
Yes.
So then you finish your bachelor's, and then you decide, okay, I have my bachelor's. What happens next?
Yeah, so like I said, I started my undergrad as a marine biologist. I started in 2001, but that was the year where the first sequence of the human genome was published.
Exactly.
This was a big endeavor that took 10 years to complete the first human genome sequence, and an effort by many great scientists across the world to put together this first draft of the human genome sequence. And so, as a first-year marine biology student, I wrote an essay on the human genome. And during my research for writing that essay, I really enjoyed reading about the human genome and all the promise that understanding what the human genome sequence is and could potentially mean for health and disease. I decided to switch my major my second year of college to molecular biology.
I see.
So, you know, molecular biology is challenging, taking all my chemistry classes and biochemistry and physiology classes, while at the same time, you know, traveling for soccer games and training in the mornings and in the evenings. And it was really challenging, but really exciting at the same time. So going back to your question, so when I finished my undergraduate, I knew that I wasn't going to be a professional soccer player as much as I wanted to be a professional.
No Messi.
I wasn't Lionel Messi, but I thought that I wasn't done learning. I knew that I wasn't done learning, and you know, pursuing a PhD was a logical next step for me. I realized that there was a lot more to learn and a lot more that I was curious about, and then I learned that, you know, in a PhD program, you don't have to pay tuition if you do research in a lab, and you get a stipend, and so I thought, you know, they're going to pay me to learn.
Exactly.
And you know, I went for it, and I went for the PhD program in biochemistry.
I see. Yeah. And that brought you back to Puerto Rico.
That's right. That brought me back to Puerto Rico. So one of the sacrifices that I made was that every summer I would have to train for the soccer team. So I never did undergraduate research.
I see.
Yeah, and although I had really good grades and I had a molecular biology bachelor's degree, I didn't get accepted into any graduate programs except one, which was the University of Puerto Rico School of Medicine program.
I see.
I remember being interviewed, and the interviewees, which are now good friends and colleagues, I told them, you know, I don't have undergraduate research experience. The reason is because I dedicated my time to playing soccer, but now I'm going to take all of that time and dedicate myself to science. And I promise you that I will be an excellent student in your program. And so they gave me the opportunity, the only opportunity I had to do a PhD.
You only need the opportunity,
That's right.
Hector.
Yeah.
And I think it was a win for the University of Puerto Rico to have you. And we know that because the investment that was done for you, look what have brought you,
That's right.
the situation and the opportunities that have opened for you right now here, going back to Puerto Rico. So let's talk a little bit about that that path as well, because you come in and do your PhD at the Department of Biochemistry at the School of Medicine with Dr. Carmen Cadilla, which is a very, very well established scientist, and also she's also an expert in how genes
Human
impact
genetics, yeah.
human genetics. So you did a wonderful thesis on topics that eventually related to what you're doing
Cancer,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
cancer genetics.
So then you were here for how many years?
Yeah,
here?
6 years,
Yeah.
about 6 years during my PhD program
Okay.
here.
Mhm.
I think being here was an opportunity to learn how to be creative when resources were low,
Yes.
perseverant in response to adversity,
Mm-hmm.
but yet maintain ambitious goals.
Wonderful.
I learned that being here as a PhD student. And so also Dr. Carmen Cadilla allowed me the freedom to pursue the research that I really wanted to pursue.
Exactly.
And to seek training opportunities outside of Puerto Rico during my PhD. I spent some time at MD Anderson Cancer Center, at Cornell University, at Cold Spring Harbor. And through these opportunities, I eventually met my postdoctoral mentor, who told me when I finished my PhD that I could join his lab at UT Southwestern Medical Center to pursue cancer genetics. So, and that's what I did after my PhD. So I left Puerto Rico for my undergrad. I came back to Puerto Rico for my PhD, and then I left again for my postdoc training at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. And there it was just really a big research lab.
Yes, of course.
The pace of science was relentless. I remember working every day, even on Saturdays for 5 years.
Yeah.
But it was a real big learning opportunity. And I must say that there were two big things that happened when I came to get my PhD in Puerto Rico. Was that I earned a PhD, but I also met my eventual wife, who was also in the medical school, in the School of Public Health.
Oh, okay.
And she was crazy enough to join me to do my PhD at UT Southwestern and go with me to Dallas, Texas for that time. But she was also the catalyst for me returning back to Puerto Rico after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, these are life decisions that also, shape ourselves. And sometimes when we find a balance between our love for our work, but also our life and the things that we want to accomplish, these are things that synergism is crucial for you to be successful in anything that you do. Right? So when you were doing your postdoc in Dallas at a top tier institution like UT Southwestern, then you see yourself in academia or you see yourself in industry? Because that's sometimes especially with human genetics, that could be so much value to going into the industry or startup or things like that. What made you just continue academia?
I don't think industry was ever an option for me. I wanted to do academia because I wanted to lead my own group, and I wanted to pursue science in my own views and the way that I see fit.
Good.
And so, while industry offered perhaps a higher salary and a quicker and slightly different opportunities, I wanted to build a research lab and a team and to drive my own science. And so, thankfully, during my postdoc, I remember sitting in the first lab meeting surrounded by 20 other postdocs coming from these Ivy League universities with their PhDs from Ivy League universities, and me being the only representative from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And telling myself I am going to outwork and out hustle these people,
Good for
and I am going to show them
Yeah.
that I am at their level, and that really drove me to do really great science and pursue faculty opportunities at many universities after my postdoc. Yeah.
Exactly. I relate to your comment about being what I call the N of one.
The N of one, yeah.
Yeah, because we Latinos in science in the United States, in the mainline, we still are a significant minority, and usually we situate ourselves sometimes in scenarios where we are the only ones that represent our background, our ethnicity, our gender, or other things. And so that commitment of demonstrating that, that you represent a whole community, and that all the stereotypes that may be playing, in my opinion, we should prove them wrong, right?
Yeah.
That of all these things that you think that people should be or not. So it's a unwritten responsibility from my point of view, and I tell that to my students.
Yeah, it's an unfair responsibility.
Yes, it is an unfair.
We oftentimes have to do more than the rest to prove ourselves.
Yes,
but
but
the reality.
It is how the cookie crumbles, and this is how science in general, because science is so competitive, and science is an ecosystem of whoever can be successful is the one who wins, right? And so you find strategies to demonstrate, right, how to achieve that. And I think that's a great opportunity for us to develop ourselves in a perhaps challenging scenarios. So good. So then you decided you wanted to have your own lab.
Yeah.
And so what drove you to University of North Carolina?
Yeah, I never thought I would end up in North Carolina starting my lab. I applied to 35 universities.
Wow. Well, it doesn't surprise me. It's very competitive. Yes.
I think I got 6 interviews and I got 4 offers.
Wow.
At various universities in the mainland U.S. University of North Carolina just offered a great balance of an opportunity for me to develop as an independent researcher and being a place with great science and expertise, but also being not too far from Puerto Rico. It's still on the East Coast, and it was just an overall great place to live and to start a family and all those things that come along, as a young independent investigator. So I started my lab at UNC Chapel Hill, which was probably the best decision I've made.
Wow. And so what was the first project that you initiated as you were establishing your lab at UNC?
Yeah, so I wanted to understand the breast cancer genome. I wanted to understand how genes within how cancer cells can repurpose genes for their own benefit to drive resistance to cancer therapy. And so I learned how to perform next generation sequencing analysis to analyze the genomes of various breast tumors from across individuals, and use bioinformatics to analyze these data and learn about patterns and learn about features within a cancer genome that are different from a healthy genome that we could potentially exploit for therapy. So the first projects that I had at UNC was really using innovative sequencing technologies to learn more about the breast cancer genome, which resulted in several publications.
Yeah. And so there you had graduate students.
That's right.
Undergraduates, or did they have an undergraduate program as well?
UNC has a big undergraduate program as well. What I did every summer is I took an undergraduate from Puerto Rico to come to my lab. So
wonderful.
I gave my platform as a professor at UNC Chapel Hill to undergraduate science students from Puerto Rico to come every summer and do research with me. So I did that while I was there.
So that gave you the opportunity to do some role playing as well, you know, being a role model for these kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. And really just opening doors and letting people, young aspiring researchers, learn that they can do it as well.
Exactly. Sure, sure.
Mhm.
Huh. Well, it must have been a moment of also of feeling of self-fulfillment.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you say, wow, I achieved what I wanted, and I
Mhm.
really wanted to grow and
Yeah.
develop this. And then, so you were there for how many years?
I was at UNC Chapel Hill for about 7 years.
That with tenure.
Yeah, I got
so
tenure.
wow, that's very successful,
Yeah.
Hector. Definitely very successful, because it's very, very hard to get tenure in these high impact institutions.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, so you must worked a lot to achieve that, I bet.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but it was enjoyable to do it.
Yeah,
Like, I really like the research that we do.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and how was faculty there? Was it very diverse? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The faculty at UNC Chapel Hill were great. Everyone was very collegial and collaborative, willing to help, willing to give opportunities to a young faculty member and to offer a helping hand. So it really helped me build a research program that is sustainable and eventually transferable to Puerto Rico.
Right. So since you're doing research on gene regulation, let's dig into more the science component of your projects. In particular, what has been one of the most exciting findings in your career thus far?
Should we talk about the transition from UNC to
If you
Puerto
think
Rico first?
that will encourage you to go and connect this question, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I was given the opportunity to come back to Puerto Rico to the Comprehensive Cancer Center here. Yeah, and while I was thrilled to have my lab at UNC and thrilled to build collaborations and networks with the faculty at UNC, I wanted to have the opportunity to come back. My wife, being Puerto Rican, always encouraged me to come back as well. And I was given this opportunity at the Cancer Center. And during this transition, I realized that now I want to try to understand the unique features of cancer in Puerto Rican patients and in patients from diverse genetic backgrounds. How is it that the unique DNA sequences of people from various backgrounds affects the progression of their cancer and their response to therapy? And so here in my lab, in the Comprehensive Cancer Center, what we're doing now is trying to understand, in general, what are the genetic features that describe or can allow us to predict progression of breast tumors and ovarian tumors. What are the genetic features that could perhaps tell us which therapies to offer patients based on their DNA? And also, we've now added this third component, which is what are the unique features of Hispanic patients?
Right.
What are the genetic determinants of disparities in cancer for people with our genetic makeup? And so, it's important to know that by studying Hispanic populations, we can still learn about breast and ovarian cancer in general,
Of course.
but we now have a more tailored approach to be able to help people in our community and to provide hope and potentially new therapeutic options for our patients.
Wonderful. And so have you identified particular genes in this population
Yeah.
that are interesting right
Yeah, so
now?
one of the techniques that we're doing a lot, and it's one of the techniques that I am collaborating on in this project of Blueprint of Life, is that we now have a really innovative sequencing technique where we could take tumors and we can sequence the individual cells within each tumor. So
Wow.
tumors are collections of many different cell types, each with their own biology and responses to therapy, that are all growing uncontrollably in this tumor ball. And so this single cell genomics technology allows us to look at the individual cells within a tumor. We can figure out what those cells are. We can figure out if they're malignant or bad cells, or if they're just normal human cells that are stuck in this tumor. And then we can look very closely at their genetic features. And this has taught us a lot about cancer. We've learned that there are multiple flavors of cancer cells within one individual's tumor, which may require a different set of drugs
Exactly.
in order to target them.
Right.
So we can now look at the cellular composition of tumors and allow that to dictate what is appropriate therapeutic regimen for these patients. So we're doing that now here in our cancer center. We're doing single cell genomics of human tumors, and we're now compiling all of this data and comparing to all of the data that we generated at UNC Chapel Hill to be able to see what are the similarities, what are the differences, what can we learn from the two populations of patients, and what are things that we can do better. And so we're very much doing that through the lens of single cell genomics and cellular compositions of human tumors.
So what I see from the research, the basic research that you're doing from the clinical point is to your data, your results will give a foundation for what is called personalized medicine.
Yes, absolutely.
So you see the future of when we were able to gene type the cells of every cancer, hopefully, and then you would know the profile of how this cell will be behaving in that environment.
Correct.
And then you could determine based on that diversity, cellular diversity, whether this treatment will be appropriate or not for each individual.
That's the goal, yes. So the technology has advanced so rapidly that it is becoming increasingly realistic to think that we can be able to look at every individual's tumor and provide a personalized or a tailored treatment options. Going back to our example in 2001 of the human genome sequence, it took 10 years and about $1 billion to generate that first sequence of the human genome. Fast forward to 2025, we can now sequence a human genome in a couple hours for a couple $1,000s.
Exactly.
Right. So in 24 years, we have decreased the cost of human genome sequencing. We've now, with the advent of computers, high performance computers, and machine learning and artificial intelligence, we can now analyze these data sets within minutes and a few hours.
Yeah.
And so now it's just a matter of deploying these sequencing technologies, this computational power, to sequence more and more human tumors and be able to make this a reality for our patients. We're still a ways away of doing it in the clinic, but in the research lab, we are very much doing it.
So you see yourself doing projects that are more geared toward that kind of goal of creating that personalized
Yeah, so
treatment?
fundamentally, our job in my lab is to create fundamental knowledge. If you understand the problem of cancer better, then you can get better at designing better drugs, but you also can get better at recommending drugs. And so I think within the drugs that are available now, we can predict which patients will do better on which drugs, but we also need to create more effective drugs and figure out ways of delivering them more efficiently to the tumor within the human body. So one side of it is generating this data, the sequencing data, offering personalized treatment regimen, but the other side is developing better drugs.
Exactly.
And
or
so
treatments.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So this is all founded on knowledge. So we start by generating foundational knowledge and then go from there.
So it's so transformative what you do,
Thank
because
you,
it
yeah.
transforms lives. Because now I think for people that suffer, of course, different cancers have different profile of how how you say aggressive they are.
Yeah.
We still don't have a cure for brain cancer, or
Correct.
we don't have a cure for pancreatic cancer,
Mhm.
or things like that. But for breast and for ovarian cancer, there are opportunities that now women can say, I can survive
Yes.
cancer and
Yep.
live years without,
Yep.
in remission.
Yep.
Because I understand that when you have cancer, it's not like it's gone. It's just like, any process that it will evolve into being without cancer, or with you live with it, right? And so I think that your work is so important, but also I think it's very inspiring for others to pursue a career in cancer genetics. So what would you tell future students, or here in our institution in Rio Piedras, that would be interested in pursuing a career in cell biology or
Yeah, so one of the
cancer?
things that I've realized, having done science across the U.S. in several institutions, and then coming back, is that like we are equally as capable as researchers outside of Puerto Rico. We, in fact, I would say that the students and researchers here have a, just culturally based on our predicament of living on an island, we have innate perseverance. We know how to figure things out whenever there's no electricity, or
Yes.
whenever there.
Tell me about it.
And so these are traits that you can. So my recommendation for young students is draw on these traits of perseverance, realize that you are equally as capable, and then work hard. I think that's the hardest one to connect with the students, is there's no way around it. You just got to work hard
Yeah.
and go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think that drive that you show me today during this conversation is also essential for them
Absolutely.
to pursue a career in
Yeah.
this field.
Right.
And so I really thank you, Hector, for being here today with us. And I learned a lot from all the
Thank
things
you.
you shared today. And I will end by saying that we hope to have everybody watch this podcast and also see us on our next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Desde el Origen is supported by the U.S. National Science Foundation through the eRISE program, award number 2435987. The opinions shared here are our own and don't necessarily reflect the views of the foundation.